Okay, now we start the review. I'm Albert. I will go through 3 single-digit cues again from the last round of this season's NAOL. So welcome to this week's review. So in the first game, we have, I think, a game between 2 5 cues. And again, if you have questions at any point, just let me know. Yeah, I'll go through the opening a little more quickly because I think that's not super notable. One quick thing to note is that right now the consensus on this 3-3 Joseki is that it's better for the side with the corner. So in this case, typically white is better. The simple reason is that white has a solid corner and black's outside is not very strong. So the best way to deal with a 3-3 using this AI opening logic is to leave it alone. So you don't want to shoulder hit the 3-3 too early. So you want to keep it at some distance. And if you have other big points to play, the 3-3 is actually one of the hardest points to expand from. Because no matter where your opponent goes, you can always play the start point or maybe even attach the 3-4 point. And ultimately, the 3-3 stone will just have lower efficiency. It's hard to build a huge moyo from a 3-3. So that's kind of conceptually we should try to understand that. Okay, so this attachment is a fun move. It's oftentimes very effective at basically pressing your opponent down to the third line or even the second line and reducing your opponent. Right now, however, I think the timing is not as ideal because white doesn't really have much on the top. If the top upper right corner is has white stone, then I think this attachment will make more sense. Right now in this game, clearly the focus of the game is in the bottom. So black has a big side down here. So if black wants to attach, I think if anything, black wants to attach in this area. So if white plays something like this, maybe, for example, black can just try to, brute force, expand the territory like this. I think this will actually be an effective move. Normally, you might be giving your opponent too much on the outside, but right now, white doesn't have as much here compared to the fat corner here. So I commend black for the attach strategy, but think about the direction of play. Yeah, here is the shape issue. Whenever you have this type of extension shape, look out for the cut on the third line. It's oftentimes risky to leave 2 hanging cuts like this. So if black cuts here, it's pretty hard for white to capture this stone. Right, there's a Tari, and then there's already a ladder Aji here. So of course, maybe the ladder works for white right now, but then it's just a matter of one ladder breaker away from disaster happening. And the worst part is, black can tenuki here. For example, at this point, if black pushes or peep, there's a lot of aji that black can exploit. So I'll say the standard move will be connecting here. Okay, so black decides to invade here. I think this is a point basically I bring up every week. And it might be a very common mistake for single-digit Q players. When you invade a territory on the third line, especially early on, the only reason you should be doing that is if it concerns life and death or thickness. You should never invade a third line territory to destroy territory. Basically, almost never. And the reason is if you're only destroying territory, then this is in the neighborhood of 10-15 points. And a random descent, like random Hane here, will be worth more than 10. So the only reason that this invasion could be worthwhile is if it concerns life and death. So if you're just creating a weak group from invading, then that will basically be, that's usually not a good strategy. And right now, we can see white has a Panuki, white is pretty strong, and white has stones on the upper side too. Black doesn't have a strong wall. It'll be a different story if black has a wall here, and then through this invasion, this stone will be almost dead. But we don't really have that situation. So in a few moves, black is definitely in trouble. And white plays pretty directly, just cut off the stone. And now black's invading stone died. Slight inaccuracy here from white is white can Atari first, and then white should probably just connect back. Notice these 3 stones still don't have a way to connect back anywhere. This cut could create some bad obji, but there are a few ways to deal with it. The simplest way is even just extending. Locally, black is dead. And a better way is probably Atari here and then Atari here. So the black just doesn't have enough liberty to escape. Okay, no questions yet. Yeah, so this cut I think shows good reading ability from white. It's somewhat of a unique situation. Usually this cut will just get laddered, but because white is so strong earlier, this actually works. Yeah, so right off the bat, black has a weak group, and it may not even connect well to the top. And notice on the right side, white still has the Kwanuki 2 points, capturing to almost 10 points, which is basically the same as what white started with. Imagine if black plays here and then white plays here. This area only has maybe 15, 16 points at most. So it's unclear whether black destroyed any territory at all. And now black has a weak group. Okay, so white should connect here earlier because then white's whole group is connected. Right here, white's basically spent another move to try to connect to the top, and that gives black some chances to regroup. I think black should just extend here. So this is pushing against, you're giving your opponent potentially hit of 2 stones. So generally, it's not advised to play this type of shape. I think in this case, Atari here will be natural. So if black Atari is here, I think white can Tenuki locally already. And later, white can choose to capture these 2 stones or potentially keep attacking black like this. So this is a chance, an opportunity to think more flexibly. Or if white really wants to play aggressively, I think extending here is the way to go. Black probably has to escape here, and then white can Atari just basically control the upper side. Or Atari here, or extending. Yeah, so here white played another move to connect, which means the earlier turn at A is pretty much wasted. So it's important to think about how to maximize the efficiency of your moves. And now black gets head of 2 stones. So here I think black has a chance to play this attach, and this will strike white's weak spot. If white connects black Hane, and I believe the center group is just captured. There's no way to escape at this point. So the only way for white to escape after the attach is to make this very painful exchange and then extend. And then black can get another nice exchange and then potentially Atari here to break through white's upper side. Now black wouldn't play here right away because then maybe this group would be in danger. But white's connection has some weaknesses. So then black maybe will Atari here, and which aims to and white has to fix. And notice black has several advantageous moves in the center, and white stones are all dame. So this will be a very bad result for white. So in the game, black extended and white got the good shape with the bamboo, and the game will continue. Here is another chance to think more deeply. Black does have a weakness at this cut, but if you would look on the upper side, locally black will want to cut here instead. If black plays here, or white plays here, notice locally there's already a cut. Then black can basically puncture through white's wall. And with white Atari, black extends, there are 2 cuts. White cannot protect both at the same time. So definitely something to note. I think this Kosumi is risky because it leaves a sente cut for white. Later, I think white got a cut in sente. So then black's group on the outside is fairly weak. And if this cut becomes sente, or if white gets another move here, then black has another cut to worry about. Right, so in the game, white made Atari, but I think that white missed a chance to cut directly. No, notice when black Atari and white extend, this is another Atari, so black cannot Atari here. I think that's one potential way that maybe white or black misread the situation. Here it's in the mid game. This is very important to note. Is you should constantly look around to check which stones are vital. Earlier, when black invaded at A, the stones on the right are very important. But now that every stone around this group is alive, these three stones are the least important stones in the area, along with this stone. I'll clear. So the triangle stones. These are not important at all. What's important is this fight in the center, which involves these stones. So which means white's capture here is just a Gote endgame move. There's no reason for black to respond. And also to respond, definitely Atari is better than the connection. Yeah, so this is a chance for black to invade or to flip the script in the center and launch a counterattack. I think the mistake in the center ultimately doomed black in the game. And flip back to white's perspective. In the middle of the fight, you don't want to play a random endgame. So definitely check to make sure that your moves are the urgent spots. In single-digit Q game, maybe sometimes you start off with misread and then you get behind. But oftentimes you see chances when your opponent suddenly just veers away from the vital parts of the game. And that's where you should be very sharp and decisive to tenuki. Learn when to tenuki. And you'll find a lot of chances to reverse a losing game. Yeah, shape-wise, if white pushes, Hane will be more natural. Okay, so here's a problem with the wedge. If white, after wedging, white backs off and then allow black to panuki. So that means the wedge was probably ill-conceived from the beginning. You don't want to give your opponent a panuki like this. Oh, so now black connected back and the fight settled. So I think overall black gained in this fight. Black lost a little on the right, but got a strong panuki in the center. The game is still long, of course, but most of the loss came from the last panuki. Okay, and white decide to continue the fight in the center. Actually, the game is still pretty long at this point, and white started with the opening lead with 2 corners. So if white just plays normally, this will still be a long game. Cutting here, I think it's a little too premature, because if white has stones here, black naturally will have to defend. So the extra benefit of cutting is really to capture stones or severely weaken black. But right now, black just has more stones if the fight just continues normally. For example, black can choose to Atari out like this. And because black has more liberty, maybe when white Hane, black can even cut. So this put white in immediately in some real danger. And the other consideration we should always remember is what happens if black just simply sacrifice everything. So I think this is important to think about. So white captured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stones, and then plus 3. But these 3 stones were already half dead. So in reality, this is like 1.5 plus 7. That's 8.5. 17 points, 18 points, maybe 19, 20 points. White captured about 20 points. But black lost some weak stone, basically got rid of some baggage. And in turn, black got a lot here. So basically, if white cannot make something happen in the bottom, white is trading 20 points for what, maybe 35 in this area. And this will not be a favorable trade for white at all. So this comes back to the original point. Is cutting really worth it? If even if black sacrifices everything, it's unclear if the trade is even good for white. So in the best case scenario, is about even. So the cut is really not a strong attack right now. Oftentimes, your opponent will try to play aggressive moves, and if you're not a aggressive style player, you should think more flexibly. Maybe you don't have to fight at all; just sacrifice it. I didn't look at the AI evaluation, but just looking at the shape and counting the points. If you're only capturing 20 points and you give your opponent a wall plus a lot of potential to make more territory, it cannot be too bad for black. So it's definitely a playable option. Yeah, here white probably wants to connect instead and fight like this. It's probably still okay because as long as white lives here, the game is okay because this will destroy a lot of black's potential here. I think where black went wrong is with this jump. I think jumping on this here would be better. If white extends, black can jump again. So the difference is black's speed of escaping will be much faster, or even at the very least at this move. Black will be essentially one move ahead compared to the game. Okay, so in the game, white did connect back, so the game is still more or less balanced. But I think black will want to get a little more because white started out this fight inside black's territory. So I'll definitely consider this move for black, and to see if there's a chance to attack the white group more severely. And if white doesn't play correctly, white might be in some trouble. I don't think this group will die, but at least this way, black will be strong on this side and also this side. The problem with the game is that later, black's center group got split. So black definitely owes a move around here or here to protect the bottom, but then the entire left side is isolated. To prevent that, I think it's better if black blocks here instead, and then allow white to live towards the bottom. And on the right side, black can start endgame with moves like 3, and then maybe peep here, and then at least black can get a little bit on the side. Okay, so black came back to left side. I think that's a good choice to at least settle one group first. In the bottom, white plays invasion. Yeah, I think there are a lot of options for white. But at the very least, I think white can invade here. This will probably be a Sente invasion, and the white can come back to this area. Shoulder hit is a good move to create some weakness and basically to leave some Aji in the bottom. But the risk is, of course, if black tries to capture everything. So now the fight really intensifies. So here, black definitely needs to Panuki. So notice that this type of Atari doesn't work. There's no Ko. So the learning point here is if you give your opponent Panuki, that's oftentimes dangerous, especially when you're trying to live in Sabaki. And so black should Atari from this side. Yeah, white has a chance to connect here. There will be more Aji this way. So in the game, white is able to eke out life here. And black panicked. And ultimately, there's some life and death issues in the center. So here's interesting. Black, yeah, for the sake of time, I'll fast forward a little bit. There's a fake Seki in the center. So the middle black group died. But at this point, black might still have a chance with this combination. So white can capture these stones, but black can save at least the main group. And black profit in the corner. So this could still be a game. If white cuts here, maybe, yeah, black can push here. This is still, black can save half at least. So then white ended up winning by a lot because the center died. But I think looking through the game, both sides definitely have plenty of chances. White had a solid opening, but black found some chance in the center when when white kind of played away from the focus. And the quick learning point is one: don't invade third line territory, only to get attacked, and then try to tenuki decisively. And then try to evaluate whether sacrifice is a possibility. And if you're the attacking side, evaluate whether your opponent can sacrifice against your attack. If so, then you should really think twice about playing the move. Okay, so I'll move on to the next game, but if you have questions about this game, we can come back to it later. Okay, this next game is between two 7Qs. Okay, so two space low pincer. It's rare, but it's actually becoming more common in the age of AI opening. Attaching on the outside is definitely uncommon. I'll recommend black bump here because that strengthens the corner and also creates some weaknesses. For example, the Sanjo Seki now could be pushing and then push again. So white has to defend and then black can come out. It may be worthwhile for white to make the bump because later this jump could become sente and then this turn is really big. If black tenuki, there's more sente. So essentially white's shape is really strong. Okay, so black both sides jump out. A move we should keep in mind is this jump is possible too, not just this move. And the reason is one common follow-up nowadays is black invading here. Oh, actually, a white can bump first and then jump. And then it will lead to this type of variation. So notice having the stone at 1 instead of A is slightly better because it will be a 2 space instead of just a narrow 1 space extension. Okay, so this is still normal, I guess. The shoulder hit here, I think white has to be careful because when the ladder works, black can potentially push cut. And the ladder typically refers to this ladder. So if white cannot capture this tone, then black will have the upper hand in this fight. More commonly, white would choose to jump here instead. This is a more peaceful continuation. Yeah, this follow will be more natural. Okay, black bumps here. I think white should just descend down instead of trying to protect the cut. Because when you make these type of peep exchanges, you're just making your shape heavier. So notice this peep will not be necessary. And I think this protecting here will be better. Even though this peep is sente and white can continue play, this weakens the corner. Now black can potentially peep here later. So unless we really have to, peeping at g6 to create like a wall shape for your opponent is not ideal. Okay, so black defended. The urgent point will be to deal with this group. It still had no eye. So from white's perspective, white should definitely come back to attack. If white wants to defend the corner first, I think that's reasonable too, because this takes away black's eye in the corner. But playing away, I think it's not the focus of the game. In the opening, we should first think about weakness. Actually, throughout the game, you should first think about the weakness, whether your groups can make two eyes, whether your groups are comfortable. And then you think about the big points. Right now, there's a weak group, so definitely look out for that first. Yeah, this is a slow move, and then white invaded. So again, this is not the focus of the game. It should be in this bottom left corner. Okay, so black semi-connected with this move, and then white chose a cut, but it was premature. This cross cut technically works, but it requires a stronger outside. So right now it doesn't work because black can just capture these two stones, and then white will lose more than he gains. So this is not worth it. Now, if white gains more stone in the center, eventually black will need to spend another move, which is okay. I think a lot of Q and low down players underestimate the value of forcing opponent to reinforce later. So they have a weakness, it's a threat, but sometimes not playing it out directly is the best way to handle it, because you get value from it just later. For example, if white can play a move in the center with value, and then black will have to reinforce again. And the move at 2, it doesn't create many points. It might be worth 2 or 3 points compared to a big move in the center. So white can get value indirectly that way versus attacking. And no matter how you attack, you will first give your opponent a few points. And you might even end up with gote. So that's definitely something to think about. Yeah, so white decided to come back at this point. I think these moves seems like sunk cost fallacy, because white already spent 2 moves there, but then white end up with gote. So at this point, white realized, okay, the cut doesn't work. White should just switch gears to focus on another big point, whether it's here or maybe the corner, or defend the bottom, do something. I don't think expanding the right side like this was white's goal when white tried to play the cut. I think after realizing the cut doesn't work, white choose to still play locally and change to this plan. But notice this plan gave black a lot of points on the right side, and now black's completely safe. And then again, this center is only 10 points at most. So white is not gaining much. And now white got gote. Okay, so black made some mistakes here. Okay, so these two attach is a really nice combo. At this point, I think black just has to connect or block here. Yeah, if black really wants to play a strong move, probably has to bump and then block. This will prevent the clamp. If white pushes down, black can turn, and it seems like at least one side will die. But getting this combo is good for white. Now cutting will be another mistake. Black is really strong on the outside. Cutting these two stones won't change any life and death. So the focus should be on the whole group. And if we see that, then we will see that Kasumi here is the only move. If white connects, black can take away the other eye shape, and now white is under real threat of dying. The side doesn't even have one confirmed eye yet. So if white basically chickens out and try to live on the side, and then black can cut. Notice this is still sente. And this will be a good result. And even more, black, maybe the outside is not thick enough, but later, potentially black even wedge here, which forces white to live. Notice connecting may not make a second eye, so maybe white will have to fall back to the right side, for example, living here, and that will allow black to profit tremendously. So this is categorically different from what happened in the game, where black just captured 2 stones worth 4 or 5 points. This is now a territory of almost 20 points, and black is completely connected. Yeah, and then this Kosumi kind of missed the mark too. At this point, black should realize white is alive, so we should not attack a live group. And knowing that white is alive and black is alive, then that begs the question, why even play next to 2 live groups with play a move that's not getting any territory? Maybe black is setting up to attack white, but remember, we only get 1 move every turn, so we need to make the most out of it. If black wants to attack, black just has to attack, instead of trying to play a dominant move before attacking. Right, so then black connected here. This is probably another inertia. Notice white is already alive, so connecting here, it's another endgame, essentially. And right now, if black can take the initiative to attack, white is in trouble here. White has to escape, and then if white doesn't see that this Atari doesn't mean much, then black can get a Sente move on the outside, and then white might be sealed in. The game could be over if the bottom white group dies. So this is a great chance for black. Even if white were to survive, black can profit tremendously by just attacking into the center. And notice white's group on the right is weakened. And then, of course, black can maybe attack the corner first. And black will be able to profit on both sides, and white will have a weak group. Yeah, the flow of the game will be completely different from here. And of course, there are stronger moves to consider, maybe extending here. And white will have to play more unusual moves, like, for example, sacrificing here to connect. Or black just Atari first. Similar to the last game, basically one side played an endgame move that is just not urgent in the middle of an important fight. Okay, so white basically made the same mistake because this stone is not important. It cuts 2 groups that's alive. And if white wants to make territory, white should also extend. This will maximize the upper influence. But right now, the focus is, of course, in the bottom group because white is almost getting sealed in. And as long as white's group is doing well, then black's group has 0 eyes. So oftentimes we see this type of group, it looks really strong in the opening, but it's getting played into the mid game where the surrounding groups find 2 eyes. This group will struggle to find eyes without making a lot of bad exchanges. So the wall can gradually turn into a weak group. So I think the common theme from tonight's review is seeing the life and death and thickness and figuring out which stones are vital and which stones you can sacrifice if needed. So white made a mistake and then black was able to cut the bottom. But here's the other common issue. Once you capture a group and then you waste move to capture, like Atari here, this is basically unnecessary. Black should definitely Tenuki, or even jump here. When you waste another move here, this is almost like passing a turn. And unless you captured a group that's worth 50, 60 points, oftentimes even if you capture a group worth 30 points and you waste a turn like this, the game will very quickly become about even again. Yeah, so I think white should Kosumi here. So then between escaping here and then this cutting point, white can basically seal off this side. The game will be very playable for white because ultimately black only captured about 20 points and then wasted a Sente. And white also profited in the center. So this will not be worth it for black. It'll be very different if black gets a turn here and then destroy white's influence in the top. This will be a completely different game. Right, I think black made another mistake, the same mistake. Right now, every group surrounding these 4 stones is alive. So these 4 stones are worth about 8 points. And I think at 7Q, players can find many moves worth more than 8 points. So even extending here, invading the corner, attacking that corner, all of those moves will be much bigger than capturing saving these 4 stones. In general, we should avoid making this type of exchange because it's unnecessary. It wastes a co-threat, and a lot of times it will eliminate Aji prematurely. Right now, white's shape is a Kema, which still has weakness of cut or attach. But as soon as you play this move, the tiger's mouth, there's no future Aji. At this point, even if black plays a move like here, this still threatens to connect from the second line. So knowing that when black invades in the corner here, there's nothing much white can do. Once black makes a lot of exchanges here, there is a small chance that white can even try to kill the corner. Maybe not in this case because the G16 zone is still a little too far away, but in a similar shape, let's say it's something like this. Then the D10, D11 exchange could be the difference between black having at least a ko or a big endgame in the corner, and then having nothing at all. So this might be completely dead. But without the D10 exchange, black can still at least attach here, or attach here to make something happen. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'll see what black can do in this corner. Okay, so black cut off 1 stone in Sente, and then white lived. Though this will not be good enough for black. Yeah, so at this point, black pretty much needs to kill the corner. So black should start with a 3-3, because as long as white controls the corner, the 3-3 point, it's hard for black to deny white the second eye. And then Hane. Even in terms of points, this is probably bigger. Because if black can get some Sente around here, this has implications to this side too. And once white loses the corner, it becomes a lot harder to live. So potentially black can have this move Sente, and then black can jump in. Oh, so black was able to live in the corner, but not in the top, and then that's still not quite enough. So looking back to summarize this game, is that both sides fail to see some of the changing dynamics of the fight, where vital stones are no longer vital, and that some stones are just not necessary to save, especially in the middle of a fight, where there are more urgent moves. So like especially disconnection, and earlier moves like A and B, and even trying to cut at C. We have to have a bigger vision, try to catch the bigger fish. So C would not make the mark. Yeah, with that, I'll move on to the last game. Okay, last game between 7Q and 8Q. Wow, it's very close. Okay, so the first 2 games, there was more about the opening. So the last game, maybe I will focus more on the second half. This double Hane move typically is a Joseki reserved for a pincer. So this is premature. So usually we play that type of move when the Kakari zone is already completely surrounded. So then the thickness you give your opponent is not that, it's slightly over concentrated. But in the game, this is very complete. If black can just play here, then the outside will be very strong. Yeah, knowing that this is a close game, I'll fast forward to the second half. Typically, you still want to block. And actually, if we go into endgame oriented position, descending is very, very big because it's a double sente. If white Hane connects and black Tanuki, this clamp is very big. Right, so notice if all we care about is territory, there are very few moves that's bigger than this Hane connect. That's why in professional game you see often they just play a random exchange early, because if you don't make that exchange early, your opponent will Hane connect, and that put you in a tough position. Okay, so far so good. We'll focus more on the end game. Okay, so here's a basic about the squeeze. Yeah, we want to squeeze from this direction. This will be better. And because then afterwards, these two don't become light. In the game, white connected in the end. Right, but in the game, if white can still cut here, and that gives white an extra Atari. So black shape is not quite as strong. Okay, so black blocked here. I think that's another thing to think about. Right now, we established that descending here is large, is a big endgame. But right now it's actually a lot less important than before, because black's territory is reserved only up to the third line. And there's no Hane connect like a follow-up clamp, because there's nothing much to begin with. So at this point, as long as this descent doesn't threaten black's life and death, it's not that big. Even blocking here, we're only talking about maybe 8 points for black and then 2 points for white, 10 points. But it's a little less because even if white plays another move, black will still have some points here. So blocking will be a little under 10 points in this case. So knowing that, and we see black is not under any danger. So we should, again, think from lesson from the last game, Tenuki when necessary. Right now, the upper right is the biggest. Because the other lesson, life and death or thickness, if white attacks a corner, it's not just points. This is a life and death situation. If black loses access to the corner, black's entire group has only one eye. And this clamp is possible because white can potentially make a ko. It depends on the exact ko threat, but it's something black needs to be worried about. And even if black's able to make the Atari, this is still a very nice sente move to compress black. And still later, the center might have more issues. Okay, so this peep is a nice move, but I would still reinforce the upper right. Because notice this corner is completely surrounded. So even though you have a Shimari situation, it looks really strong. But as your opponent gains stones later, it still might become weak. Okay, the peep is nice, but I think black can make another extension and then come back. White most likely still have to block, otherwise black can make another peep And this is a very painful exchange. White could be in trouble here. Yeah, so this will create a much better result in the game. The only downside is once white blocks, maybe black will have to spend another move to capture. Otherwise, extending could create some problem. So black has to make sure that this group is alive. But looking at it briefly, I think if black and Hane connect in Sente, the group should be okay, even if white gets this extension. Yeah, black can still block. And there's still a clamp. Right, okay. So black can turn, and then descent will become Sente. And then this group is fine. I might be going a little fast here, but now you see why the second half is important, because it ties into basic life and death, reading, counting, and even figuring out Sente Gote. So there's a lot of judgment involved. And the variation I just played out was like 15 moves long. But this, in order to play this peep correctly, you have to see the whole sequence and determine all the rippling effect. Well, you destroy territory here, but that actually has an impact on the left side. And how you deal with the left side will influence. It's also influenced by this block and whether, for example, this Atari is Sente, or if this descended will become Sente. So all of that are intertwined. Oftentimes, players will know one move exists, but forget to account for the fact that the surrounding position has changed. For example, if black plays here, and then black thought about, oh, I know this peep exists, but but dozens of moves later, white actually got the block. And then make some more exchanges. And then maybe later, this extension will become Sente against the group, and then the peep will no longer work. So that's something to consider. So white finally got the biggest move in the game, the upper right. Okay, so white peeped here. We still have 3 people online right now. Does anybody see anything wrong with this peep? There's another basic, probably like 7Q, 5Q level at most type of problem. Can we capture this stone of this volunteer? I have been not hearing people yet. I think my audio's on. Any takers on this?
Well, I made that move, so I thought it worked. But I guess you think it doesn't, so.
I can't really hear. Ken, are you speaking up? I can't really hear you for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I made that move, so I thought it worked when I made it, but apparently you think it doesn't work.
Oh, can someone try again? Sorry, maybe there was something wrong with the speaker.
Um,
Okay, yeah, now I hear you now. Sorry about that. If people asked questions earlier, I'm happy to go back. I think my audio setting was incorrect, so I wasn't able to hear people. Now, you got any ideas how to kill this Q18 stone?
no.
Yeah, so this takes advantage of a special situation in the corner. Black and block. And look very carefully. One black can descend this way. Not the other way, but this way. And then if you fill in liberty normally, you'll realize, oh, it's white can't fill liberty on either side.
Oh,
And it takes advantage of the fact that the 1/1 stone point has 0 liberties. So
right.
yeah, not this direction. This direction doesn't work because white can attack here, but this direction.
So it doesn't work because it's on the 2-2 point. If it had been further away, then it would work.
It'll be a different situation then, because if it's on the further away, then black can extend this way, and that usually will get more liberties. If that makes sense.
Yes.
This is a very common move. There's a classic Joseki. I'm sure people have all seen it. So this Joseki, maybe it's less common now, but it's still very important to know. This peep also doesn't work. Okay, so yeah, so let's say it's a situation like this. Yeah, oftentimes we'll see, oh, like this cut works, but actually black can descend. Same idea as before. There's a liberty shortage here. And some people will think, oh, white can capture this stone. But the first line move enables black to even a target here. So there's just nothing locally. Yeah, the only saving grace for white is black has to make some moves on the outside. Otherwise, white can potentially hane. Yeah, that's honestly the only thing. But even in this case, black can capture half of these 2 stones on the bottom, so black would still be alive. Yeah, that's the important Joseki connection. Yeah, so the game was decided by 4 points. So connecting here versus blocking, that definitely could have made the difference. Okay, but here I think white made a mistake. The attach and cut was really nice. It exploits the connection weakness for white, and is a good way to complicate the game. In the game, white connected from the first line, and black got a very valuable Sente capture. I think white can consider Atari here. Notice white is alive in the top, right? You just 2 eyes, and in the bottom, white can also make 2 eyes. This is this is not a big deal. So white can live separately. And also this creates weakness for black too. When white bumps here, there's some really bad algae going on here. Yeah, so white doesn't even have to worry about the life and death for the big group. White can attack black first. And if black doesn't play well here, black might just be dead. Oh, here there's no reason white wouldn't capture at least once. So you force your opponent to find a co-thread. And at this point, not all co-threads will work because black's group is also not completely settled. It depends on how risky white wants to play. But if there's a way to take away the eye in the center, black's entire corner is dead. Yeah, so I think white should respond to this, and then looking around, there's no huge co-threat. So white will probably still connect. But there's an off chance that your opponent will play a co-threat that loses points. So that's why in general you should capture a ko first when you're finding a ko, because you just waste a ko threat for your opponent. Okay, so in the end, white lost Sente by playing this Atari. Block. Blocking here doesn't is not really worth any points. Assuming black can make this type of exchange later. It's at most only 1 point. So there are many moves worth more than this. I'm not sure if white made a mystery thinking that black can connect back, but there's a snapback. So black actually gained a lot in this area because black got Sente like 5 points, and then white wasted a move. That's probably why the game was so close after white profited in the upper right. And then white got this last big Sente Hane connect. Oh, I am not sure why white played this way. I think just connecting that there's nothing here. Earlier there could be a peep and then push cut, potentially cutting off the center stone. But right now white has a backdoor in the top. So white can just capture this stone. Yeah, I think after that it's just more straightforward, smaller endgame. Oh, and then the one thing I missed is white played a lot of endgame moves, but forgot to play the Sente capture. So that definitely made a difference of a few points. So a few points here and there, but the most important, if you want to take away, is even in endgame, you should look for life and death and weakness. That's what makes endgame so interesting, is because it's not just counting up points, even though that is an important aspect. Like in the upper right, a lot of times if there's a Sente in game, that's because if an endgame is Sente, that's because it will threaten your opponent's life and death. And if you can identify that early, you will be able to maximize the efficiency of your moves. And if you look at handicap games, or just how the margin of lead changes, oftentimes the most dramatic change happens in the second half. So the stronger player could accumulate, let's say, a 10-point advantage to move 100. But then from move 100 to 200, the gap could easily swell to 30 points between, let's say, a player's 2 or 3 ranks difference. Even though the first 100 moves, the stronger player can only gain a modest advantage. It's because the life and death, the counting, the value judgment, or even oftentimes it's the ability to play under pressure, time pressure, because we're in Byoyomi at the end. Those type of abilities will compound and all matter in the second half. So a lot of our studies focus on the first half because that's the beginning of the game. We spend a lot of time, but don't overlook the second half, because that's where games are won and lost, even though we don't normally feel like it. Yeah, okay. With that, I'll conclude this week's review. Thank you all for coming. If there are more questions, I can get to them now. I know I probably missed a few earlier.
No, I just want to say thank you. That was excellent.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming, Ken. Okay, so hope everyone had a great season, and then best of luck in the next NAOL.